Hello and welcome to the United channel with me, JB. Hope we are doing really well today. So Bobby's already in the chat. I'm a little bit late this morning because I tried to do something new for the show, but it just didn't work in time because I need to link it up. So hopefully I'll be going through OBS in the future. But I just wanted just to crack on and do the show today. Forward from Ipswich. Yeah. So today is the 16th of July. As I hope we're all doing really well this morning. I'd have to sit in silence, I think, for 20 seconds. In Burmo. In Burmo might be here this weekend. Brentford have found their replacement in Amari Hutchinson. That's what I've heard as well. I wasn't going to lead with that, but we might as well. 35 million. So and that will be a record for them. So indications are quite good on that. I genuinely thought that Burmo would be done by today. Obviously, I didn't put him on the thumbnail today just because I think that pretty much I thought he would have been done, but he's not. So I'm going to move on from that one. The only thing I will say on that is I don't know whether you heard about the price on that. So apparently, Brentford wants 60 to be paid over a couple of years, and I think it's over 3 years, and we're offering 55. So I think right now, I don't know what your opinions are on this. I think we're totally in the wrong on this. I think we're trying to save face. I think definitely in Burma is definitely worth the price, and I think the issue here is us. So I think that we mustn't get spun around on this because I think we're in the total wrong. So overnight, a Nicolas Jackson has apparently become the big talking point of the last 24 hours. So there is a journalist called Pete Hall, and this is where this is coming from. Quite a respected source that United are all discussing the transfer of Jackson from Chelsea. Now, we can look at some of the quick header stats on this. So last season, I think he played 30 games and scored 10 goals. Now, 10 goals in the Premier League is nothing to be sniffed at. This is obviously this is also come from Paul Hurst, and I think this comes down to what do we all think about that. Really, I'll give you my opinion on that as I always do. As I say, one thing I will always say on here is you can give your opinions as long as we are respectful of other people's opinions. Just get in the chat. I'm pretty much not going to stop you from saying whatever you want to say as such. I think the more outlandish the opinion, the more interesting it is. Obviously, I have my opinions, but these are my opinions. And a lot of the news that I bring, or a lot of the things that I say, are a combination of things that I've read, things from, like Fabrizio, Ornstein, and these are tier one. These are the people that break this stuff, and then you do get the odd other people. So the things I'm going to go through today are Sancho a little bit, Emi Martinez, something quite interesting on that, and overnight Purvis Estepenen, I think that's his name anyway. Midfielder, winger from Brighton. Nicolas Jackson. So let's get onto this player now. He's a forward. I think he was signed from Atletico, just on the top of my head. So he's been there now for a couple of years. Now, I'm really interested what you think of this player. I saw a couple of games last year, and I think when I was watching these games, I pretty much bantered him quite a lot. And whether that's fair or not, he's definitely not the forward for me. So he's 24 years old, so he's pretty much sort of coming up to that prime age. Um, and I just wonder where we stand on this. So he will be, I think he'll be quite expensive. Chelsea, I think, are looking for around 60 million, which we can have our opinions on that and how much we think that he's worth. Now, my biggest issue here, sorry, I was interrupted. Which player? So Jackson from Chelsea. So overnight, this has come in from Pete Hall, Paul Hurst, quite respected guys that United are in for Jackson. I think Chelsea, I think are so Chelsea have just been sanctioned by UEFA. I think they're good for PSR, but I think what they do under there, they've just been fine. So Chelsea, I think are looking not necessarily for PSR, but just because they have to conform to the rules. So they are now looking to offload their players. Nicolas Jackson, 30 matches, I think 7 yellow cards, 1 red card. Now that in itself doesn't really bother me as such. I do think we need players with a little bit of bite. I think I think he could be an issue. I know Wolves fans said Cunha. Bobby, I think you're absolutely right there. I'll give you my opinions on that as well. And I just think he's an issue maker, because there was a penalty and I can't remember who that was against, but there was a scene there caused. 10 goals, 30 matches, Premier League, proven striker. I don't want to go anywhere near this player. I don't want to go anywhere near this striker for a number of reasons. I think he's a massive issue. I think that Chelsea are basically, are we funding them? Are we, if we were to pay 60 million, because I think that's what they would want, what are we doing? I would really question if we are seriously looking at him and we are thinking about going for this player. What are we doing? Mason Mount, I like the player, but again, we absolutely got destroyed over that. They must have been laughing all the way to the bank. If we give them this 60 million, I think he's worth 30. I think he's worth 25 to 30. I don't even at that price. And we can talk about the striker situation as well. I don't want to go anywhere near this player. I think that if we did, it would be sabotage on purpose. I think that Sir Jim, I think he's got a hard on for Chelsea. Obviously, he wouldn't necessarily purposefully be funding them, but he would be putting money in their pocket, which we don't need to be doing. Why are we buying their cast off? It's Jim Radcliffe buying. It is, and I don't know what the obsession is with them. I think it was quite clear that, and I think they basically alluded to this, that's the model that they wanted to follow. So Jim, who has no idea about football, there is no way a businessman of his stature in the industry that he's in, he may have billions of pounds, but he clearly has no knowledge of football. For somebody that claims to have watched this game for a very, very long time, there is no way he'd be going anywhere near this place. The model that they're trying to follow, why would we buy their cast-offs when the likes of Liverpool are now looking at Isaac and prepared an offer of 120 million. What are we doing looking at this play? It smacks to me of we are just scouring the market now for the dregs of what's left. I don't think he improves us. I think that if we're going to spend, I would much rather have nothing. That's Calvert Lewin. Would I take him over 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 him? No, but this is just going to be a disaster. So the only thing here that I think I can see us stopping us from going for this player is the amount of money that it would cost. I think in this circumstance, us being tight, not having the money there to do this deal, I think that that will stop us from doing this deal. I think it'll be very, very expensive. I can also see a fan base up in arms. I think that right now, as a fan base, we are on the edge, and I think that if we were to go for Jackson, I think that would probably tip everybody over the edge. Now, I'd love to know, really, those in the chat, what we think of this player. Would you take him? 60 million, I think, would probably be the starting price. You could maybe get that down. Would you take him at 35 million? And if not, where do we go next? So the striker market, where do we go next on this? And this seems to be the place that we're going to go. I don't actually think that we're going to go expensive. I don't think we're going to make a marquee striker signing like we typically do. I don't think there is. I think all this linked to Shesko, I think, is a load of nonsense. If we were going to do that, there are lots of other strikers that we could have gone and got. I think that any talk of a Shesko or anything else, I think it literally is just spin. As Bobby says, no way, not on a free. I agree with you. I do not want this player. Now, alternatively, I've been having a little think about this. Of all the strikers out there, I think there is a really high percentage chance that Højlund stays. I think one or two things will happen. We'll either look into the free market, which terrifies me, actually. And we have been saying it here. I'm going to keep banging on about this before anybody else was mentioning it. Really, I know people in this chat, because you're all smart, have been thinking about this as well. Calvert Lewin, for me, that is still. I wonder with Calvert Lewin whether that deal will get done at the very end on the last day, as to not annoy the fan base. I'm still convinced. that is a potential. Worst case scenario with the striker situation for me is that we keep Højlund. I'd love to give the kid a chance, but I just don't think he's the right guy. We keep Højlund, Obi, and again, as much as I like this kid, I think he's got potential. Obi as a backup striker, and one of Calvert-Lewin and Vardy. So if that's our front line next year, I think we're in massive issue. I think there's a strong chance of that happening, or we go and get a Vlahovic. Now, Vlahovic for me is, looking at his stats, and he's not horrendous. I think he scored something like 17 goals last year in all competitions. Now, my only caveat to that is, why are Juventus paying him to get off the books? Is it for a PSR thing? Is it that they just want him gone? Now, that concerns me. My caveat to that is, I think that Vlahovic would be very slow for the Premiership. I don't. We need a striker who is going to get us goals, who at least will hold us up or hold up play as well as score goals. So I really am concerned about Vlahovic, but I think if he's the best, it's really sad to be saying this, right? Is that if he is the best that we can get, a Juventus player that nobody wants on a free, I I I'm just I just don't know where we go with striker situation. So Jackson, that is what the news is today. I'm hoping that quickly gets squashed. I'm hoping that someone can squash that today and just say that, look, this is just talks. We're just inquiring. Vardy will get us 10 to 15 goals, but he is not the answer. Hopefully, Obi or Holland will shine next season. Bobby, I think that's an interesting take on that. I think Vardy of a couple of years ago, I think to say he'd get 10 to 15, I think is a bit of a stretch. But again, I admire the opinion on that. He's definitely not the answer. If the question, I don't even want to know what the question is. If he's the answer, Hoyland, I would love him to shine next season. I think Obi, again, I'd love this kid to shine. I think he did so well. I think he needs time to grow. Um, I just I just don't want to ruin another player. Obi could go either one of two ways next season. You could keep him, you could play him, and then he starts scoring goals. He's still young. He's still got time to grow. How much has he grown? There's things like we need to consider things like, when he grows, like his hamstrings, his muscles, he needs to be given time to grow it into them. I can see him if he's played too much next year, kind of starting having those injuries again. Just until the worry with Obi for me is that we start overplaying him. There is no way, in my opinion, I want to ruin this kid like we've done with so many other kids. We overplay them. Imagine this, right? Liverpool are going to go out to sign Isaac. We know what Arsenal have done. All these, we know what Pedro has gone to Chelsea. Delap has gone as well. So these other clubs are actually signing these slightly older strikers. They Isaac, if he goes, Liverpool are pretty much set for the next 5-6 years. Now, they are buying these strikers. Doesn't mean to say they haven't got youngsters coming through, but we are talking about a 17-year-old, 18-year-old leading our line. Vardy coming into the club, and Højlund staying, who had an absolute horrific season last year. How low have we gone? But I think if we get Vardy, I think 10 goals would be a stretch. 15. I mean, I would. I mean, Vardy. Yeah, I think that's an interesting take. I love the positivity on a signing that whereby I don't I just don't think the likes of a Wilson, a Vardy, a Calvert Lewin is gonna really do much, especially not a Vardy at 38. So interesting. I don't doubt that could be our front three next year. I think that's not a. I'd be interested to see, and I'll make a note that he's only 17. Obi, 17 years old. I know, but again, see, this is if we had somebody like Ibrahimovic or a Cavani, and he can kind of start bedding in that team, because what we don't want to do is Obi's only 17. he still needs time to grow. Like, and when I say grow, he's probably not going to get any taller, but he needs to grow into his body, and that could take him a couple of years. If we overplay him, he's too young. He'll get injured, and then by the time he is 20, then he's going to have massive issues. So we need to be careful with him. I'd love to think that he could score a ton of goals, but playing him for 10 minutes here and there, I definitely think is the right thing to do. And this is why we definitely need a more established striker. If Højlund stays, is basically just a case of fingers crossed and hoping he can do something. Let's go to something positive. So, Martinez. Emi. So apparently there is a tier 1 source in Argentina called Gasto Edel, who's a tier 1. He's got, I think, followers wise, like 1 million people. So he's a tier 1, and apparently we have entered talks with Emi Martinez, and I think that's something that we need to take note of. We can get on to, do we think that we will sign him? I think that's another story. But I do think we are looking at this keeper. For me, I think this is a yes, absolute thumbs up. I think he's 32, 33 towards the back end of this year. That's not old for a keeper. I think that's, I think that's not young, but I think that's a goalkeeper in his prime. I think he has the presence. I think that, and I've said this, I think he has the presence. I think he has confidence in himself. I think confidence breeds confidence, especially in that back four. I think the back four, you'll see a drastic improvement. I think we got a decent back four. I'm not concerned about that at all. And I think he would be a amazing signing. I'd back this signing. I think this would be up there with in Burma. I think he would be transformative, as I say, in terms of what he would do and the confidence that he would give this back four. Do I think ultimately that this will happen? I think it's difficult to tell. I think that if you look at the window so far and what we've done and how long we've taken to do deals, I just don't see how we get the likes of this done. I hope this is true for Emi Martinez. Bobby, I agree with you. I mean, it's coming from a tier 1 source. I think with this there is too much. There's too much smoke. I think there's too much smoke. I think that we are in for him. I think any decent club would basically buy the keeper and tell their current keeper that you need to find a move because you're simply not going to play. Onana, I don't know how he would respond to that, but any big club would be moving him out, would be telling him, look, you're not going to play. If you want to be a number 2, then that's up to you, but that's going to impact your playing time. That's going to impact this. And Onana, would he go? I don't know. I think so. I think he's that sort of player who, if he's told to go, I think he would go. As Bobby says, so the Mbeumo move must be happening if we are now looking at a goalkeeper. I'm loving, Bobby, I'm absolutely loving your positivity in moving Mbeumo. The problem is, for me, I would 100% agree with you if one of the bigger, like we're talking like an Ornstein or a Fabrizio comes out and basically says, like, they are in talks, then I would think to myself, 100%, this move is close. The Mbeumo deal really worries me still. Not because I don't think it's going to happen. Sorry, I'm really tired today. Not because I think there's more chance of it happening and not. And I'm trying not to be pessimistic on this, but I just have to keep my realist head on. Positivity's fantastic. Love that. I want more of that, and I wish that I could just go. Do you know what? Throw caution to the wind and say it's going to happen this week. You know, I thought I was confident with this purple kit that's come out today that that's a typical move. Oh god, sorry. Absolute. That's what happens when you're up in the night with kids. When United have got something like this, imagine the PR, imagine the absolute PR for this, you know, to have a kit launch to get your new player in that kit. I think it's an opportunity for them, and they would sell so many more of those shirts. The fact that this has not happened, that concerns me because Ineos, the Glazers, PR. Oh my god, this is your bugger off. I'm so sorry. Don't have kids. That's all. That is all I can say on that one. The thing that concerned me was the update yesterday saying that we are miles apart. What are we waiting for? This is the bit that I don't get. I do get it, and I know what it is that we're trying to do. We're trying to save face. This is nothing but PR. This is about us trying to win the market and say, look, you know, we imagine we spent 7 weeks on this to basically just pay what they want. How stupid do we look? I know the feeling. I have 4 kids. Blimey, I've got 3 of them. So you clearly feel my not pain because I love my kids. I think they are amazing, but sometimes when they're like hopping in your bed at like 2 in the morning and they're poking your face, I'm like, oh my good lord. So that was my fun night. I think the problem is that I'm just concerned. The longer like this goes on, I there are a couple of things at play here. Number one is this intentional to take us right through to the window, right through to say next, well, to August, and basically Ineos can basically say that, oh look, you know, we've got no time to do these deals. They're just letting these deals pass because they don't want to spend big bucks. And whilst they are negotiating, whilst they are talking to like the Brentfords, whilst they are talking all about this, they are not doing other deals. So part of me thinks that they are dragging this deal on, but Brentford have or are looking at signing Amari Hutchinson. So there has to be something. I'm clutching onto straws here. I'm looking for some positivity that we're going to get this deal done, and we need to get this done by the end of the week. People have been, you know, all those aggregator accounts who are trying to be quick on this. I mean, how silly do they look now? The fact that this deal was nearly done, it was going to be done two weeks ago, and it's still not done. This is probably the worst signing in terms of how long it's taken, how long we've been made to wait, and it's just depressing as a supporter, as a fan base, and the joy of this deal has been totally sucked out of that. More positivity, Sancho. I don't really want to waste too much time on this player. There are not many players at the club I feel this way about. You know, you can have your own opinions on this. Sancho, I after the last couple of years, I've not really seen him as a United player. I think he's bad news. I think that wherever he goes, there is always an issue. At Dortmund, there was an issue. You know, even then, and I think Dortmund played a blinder on it as well. There was issues there. The fact he was late for training, he was tired. Reports of him playing on his PlayStation till whatever time, all this sorts of nonsense. And I think they did really well to hide that. Comes to the club for a payday. Um, just I just from the very beginning, good, obviously a good player, because you can't fake being a good player, right? You can't fake your talent, you can't fake your skill. But then when you make it, you can then fake a living, because you can live on the things that you've done. Sancho, for me, obviously he did quite a bit in terms of some of the things that he did when he played for Dortmund, but other than that, you know, he's not for me. According to Fabrizio and Alfredo Padula, big in Italy, that Juventus are going to make a 15 million offer. Sorry, but I've got to get back to work. And you, my friend, I will see you very soon. Juventus, it looks like they are, and again, this will not go away. They've just signed Conceição for 30 million, I think, and I think for them that's an absolute brilliant deal. I think he's an absolute fantastic player. 5'4", 5'5". I mean, an absolute fantastic player. Now, initially, that made me really believe that basically that was it. I know he's a different position. But these reports for Sancho will not go away. Juventus, according to Fabrizio, he again tier one, the GOAT. He's not going to put stuff out if it's not true. That there is a deal done. They've agreed terms. So Sancho and Juventus have agreed terms on a deal. What Sancho wants is he wants 4 million basically to leave, and this is, I think, is where we are with the Sancho deal, is that he basically wants money to go, and I'm of the opinion that we just pay up. I don't, as much as I think we need to stand strong on these deals, if we can just pay him off, get him gone, as long as we, for compliance terms or in terms of the value on the book, as long as we can break even or even just make a little something, I don't think we will. I think we need to get this player gone. I think there's too much noise around him. The longer he's still at the club, we've got a month and a bit now to go. The longer he's at this club and the longer he's around, the longer there's an opportunity for him to come back into the team. Because don't forget, he's not played under the manager yet, and there'll always be this talk from Sancho FC and the players that, all the people that want this player, that there's a potential road back for him. And I just want this. I just want this guy gone. I think he's a mercenary. I can't wait to the back of this player. We absolutely got scammed in him. We paid far too much money. He's never fulfilled his potential. So Sancho, I really, really want to see this player play gone. To the last point on this, Pervis Espinana, I can't even say his name. Estepinen. That's it. Pervis Estepinen. A Brighton left back. I think left back, wing back. 27 years old. 30 matches, 1 goal, 1 assist. Yeah, I like the way that we're being linked to players. I think what is clear, the strategy here is Premier League proven players. That we want these players who are Premier League proven. 27 years old, plays. He plays for Brighton. 30 matches, 1 goals. I think he'll be very expensive. So Brighton have this habit of getting a lot of money for their players, and I don't think that this will be I think this will be the same. I really don't know a price. Um, uh, 40 million, maybe. I don't know how long he's got left on his deal. I don't know if anybody in the chat knows how long he's got left on his deal, but I think it'll be very expensive. And whilst we're not prepared to pay certain amounts of money for players, I think as much as I think we do need a left back, but again, we're trying to switch over to this back three, and then we'll kind of play these wing backs. So I just question why we would go for a kind of left back. Could he play it as a wing back? I don't know. I think 27, depending on the price. I think he's at a good age. Kind of left backs, wing backs kind of tend to be quite fit. Kind of tend to be able to play longer. You look at what was his name? Not Jesus, the winger who went to City and then Seville, who basically played till he was 28. I can see his face, but his name eludes me right now. If you get the right left back, the correct wing back, they can play. So at 27, you could get a good 7 years out of him. So Estupinian for me, I think, is a really interesting one. I think Brighton. The problem is that Brighton always get what they want for their players. I think I would be open to the move. I think I would support this player. I think he would be a good player, not my first option, but 27 proven. I'd be happy. I just worry about the price. I think they would price out the move. So what I think the Glazers are ultimately trying to do, Glazers and Ineos are basically trying to do this year. They are, as they've done throughout the whole of this year, sorry, the whole of last season, is they've cut costs, and they're trying to do a window on the cheap, where everybody else has strengthened. They know they've got the money to spend because they're in the Champions League. We've handed a manager a bunch of low IQ, bunch of mentality-wise, absolute on the floor. I don't know if that's because of the regime, what they see around them, what they've seen the club do. And I think Ruben is going to be asked to work magic with a budget that is limited this year. And the interesting thing for me, really, and I think this needs to be said as much as we possibly can, because I think we need to keep every day, keep talking about this, keep putting this out there, keep talking about this, is that everyone else other than us is strengthening. They're in the Champions League, and this is what we're seeing now. This is the outcome of the Glazers, Ineos. This is what Ineos do. This is probably, I would have said that any other situation, anybody else that probably did a deal, I don't think it would be as bad as this. I think for all those Ineos supporters, Glazer supporters, you got your wish. You absolutely got your wish, and this is the outcome of your wish. The moment that Qatar didn't win the bid, we lost. I feel like we lost, and this is now the out. So I think we need to have a conversation, and we need to realize that the type of club that we are now. There are many people who are. I think the only thing that we've got any sort of pull right now is our name, but I think that is eroding very, very fast. And I think over the next couple of years, I think that whilst we are still in this position, I've seen and read some things from other people. I'm not going to name names, but I think fantasy that we can get into the top six where we are now, the signings that we are talking about, I think to get into top six is fantasy. Pardew, I saw Pardew say that there's chance of us going down this year. I said this yesterday that I think that with this group of players, the bit that I don't understand or don't really get is that we finished 15th with these players. I don't know if these players are now too intrinsically infected with losing. The one thing that will give an indication to me in the first 5 games, it's not beyond the realms of possibility that we could beat Arsenal. I don't think we will, but because you can catch teams cold, Arsenal will not be caught cold, but you could catch a team cold and you could win. The first 5 games are, I think, are going to be make or break, and I just hope. Well, I just know the fan base will turn on the manager, the media. Ashley Young, again, as he's been talking out of his arse, as he sadly as he does, in his opinion, and some of you may share this opinion as well. I'm not gonna put this down because I think everyone's valid in their opinions. I think people are valid in the way that they feel. I think there's so much upheaval in this club. I think there's so much spin in this club that I don't think anybody is wrong. Where I sit, and I'm gonna pretty much bang on about this because this is where I feel Amarin's head will be called for if it's already started. Media again, they're already setting him up to fail. Is that if he doesn't do something with these players, I think he'll be gone. I think Ineos, for all their bluster, for all they're going to support this coach, is that they want him to work with this team. I think they want him to work with these set of players because they spent 300 million last year. And I think the outcome of that is that Ineos want him to work with these players to get the best out of these players. I think there are a couple of bright sparks whereby we can almost limp through the season, but we're going to be so far behind the top 4 or 5 that if Ruben can get us into the top 6, I think that that is probably one of the greatest achievements, which is really sad. I think he's going to be asked to get into the Champions League with this set of players. I think Cunha and Burmo, if we don't back out of that, I think we'll go cheap on a striker, and I think that we'll try and get a keeper. But I'm not convinced on that. So I don't think he's going to get any more than 3 players. I think he's going to be asked to work with the players that we've got, and Amarin's just going to have to work with that. Now, my biggest issue with that is that how can we put in a coach, expect him to play a system, and your argument or your valid point on this may be, well, we've only got the Premier League, so he's got, he does have multiple times within the season during the week to train these players, to get these players into the system. And that's one of the things for me, is as much as I will criticize these players, and I don't think ultimately, if we want to move forward as a club, get back to the Champions League and compete, these players are not it. One of the red flags for me last season, and I'm kind of being a hypocrite slightly on the way that I feel, is that Amram did have a couple of months with these players, and I really didn't see and I'm talking about the style of play, because when you're asking the team to go from an old style of system, counter attacking team, a coach, whereby he plays a completely different way, and we are completely shifting the way that we want to play. Asking for the whole team to change, I think, is a bit much. But I didn't really see an improvement in a lot of players. I think that was a massive red flag for me. That was the first red flag for me. I think I'm going to sneeze in a minute. That was a red flag. No, he's still there. Nice gone. It's a big red flag for me, or a red flag for me, that I didn't see really improvement. Hoyland for me was one of the biggest flags, because how could he not get a striker to fire, to at least score a couple of goals, not at least score more than he did, to inspire his players? Is Hoyland really that bad? I know he had a really bad season, but is he that bad? And the other flag for me was that final. You know, I it was everything on that final, and Spurs without their best players. This is how bad we were. Spurs without their best players beat us. They didn't put us to the sword. They didn't beat us in terms of they were better than us. They were better than us, but they were awful, and we were just beyond bad. So that's where we're at. Again, there is limited news. There is not a lot coming out of the club. You know, the purple kit is out today, and I was absolutely convinced. I was so convinced, and I was positive for the first time in a very long time, that Mbeumo was going to be done. He was going to be done today. We're going to have a here we go. I am hoping, even as we're live, I keep checking my phone, even now, hoping that something will break. Interesting note. Here's an interesting. Fabrizio's actually just put out there that Amari Hutchinson, Brentford, has had a 35 mil bid rejected. Didn't meet the payment terms needed to activate the clause. The clause is expired. Ipswich hope to keep Amari, but he wants to go to Brentford, and there's an expected return to go in for the player. So again, everything seems to be conspiring. So my big hope about Amari Hutchinson, and it's that's literally just come in as we're talking now, that even though the clause has expired, Ipswich, that I don't understand why they're asking more than 35 million. I do think they're taking the mick on that one. I'm just scrolling through now. Lookman, there's a player that I think would be an interesting player. I'm just looking through now, give you updates as I possibly can, as quick as I possibly can. There is absolutely nothing out there from Fabrizio, or let's see, anything else before we go. Ornstein, what's he saying? Saying that Longstaff, well, at least Longstaff can't be linked to us. I think he was linked to us last year. 27 years old, he's going to go to Leeds. So at least Longstaff is not going to come to the club, which is absolutely fantastic. It's just Liverpool. Isaac, it's depressing, isn't it? Absolutely depressing. And who else? So Jacobs, again, he's really good. Even though yesterday he got a little bit not burnt, but he's been saying that the deal is nearly done, and he's expecting some sort of movement on it sort of last week. But he is a good guy. What else? That's it. There is absolutely nothing else. Um, and I just wonder how we all feel in that. I know I'm going to put it to the chat. If there's anybody that wants to put in the chat, I think we've got a little bit of time. I'd love to know um, what your thoughts and feelings are on our window so far. In Burmo, again, I'm not tired of talking about this player. I am tired of no updates, and I just want to get this done. So Jackson, how do we all feel on that? Is it a yes? Do you think that we could make that work at the right price? I'll be really interested on some takes um, on that one. I it's a no from me for many reasons. I think it'd be too expensive. I don't want to put money into Chelsea's pocket yet again. I think they are, in terms of windows and stuff like that. They may not always sign players who always become good, but they do sign and they do get money for their players. So they are a good club in terms of that. I don't think that that's the model that, well, we can't anyway, because we've got owners who don't give a monkeys about the club. So I think that I'm hoping over this week, and this is a hope. I really want to be positive. We've got our first game against Leeds on the weekend. I'm going to do a watch along for that, because I'm just really keen to see what it is we're trying to do. If we can already see some patterns of play, but again, it's just so quiet. It's so quiet, and it's really concerning now. What this club is trying to do, and to pick the bones out of this when the window ends, I think it's going to be a really interesting time to go over. And I think a lot of people, including me, are not going to be very happy. Well, thank you all for watching, for getting in the comments, as you always do. It really means a lot to me. You know that people watch. That people give me the time of day. That people take time out of their day to watch this. The interaction. This is your show. As much as I've come on and report stuff, I know a lot of people have reported this. I try to do one show a day, because I just try and get everything in the one place. And then if anything does break, I will jump on and give you an update. Thank you all for watching. Again, thank you so much. And if anything changes, I will jump back on and give you an update. Have a good rest of your day, and I'll see you later. Take care.